The outpost floated at the edge of known space, far from trade lanes and far from safety. It was old, patched together from many repairs, and it carried the marks of many battles. Scars of melted metal and dark burns covered its outer hull. Inside, the air always smelled faintly of oil, burned circuits, and recycled oxygen. Humans were not meant to be here, at least not according to most alien races. They were seen as fragile, slow, and far too soft for constant war. Still, humans had something valuable. They could fix things no one else bothered to understand. The human technician's name was Evan. He was not a soldier. He had never fired a plasma rifle in anger. His hands were more used to tools than weapons. He wore a simple maintenance suit, marked with stains from long nights of repair work. He had been assigned to the outpost because humans were cheap help and because no one expected him to last long. Evan had been called to the inner armory without explanation. That alone made his stomach tight. The inner armory was not a place for humans. It was where the alien warriors gathered, where their armor and weapons were stored, and where only the strongest were allowed to walk freely. As the heavy doors slid open, Evan felt dozens of eyes turn toward him. Tall alien warriors stood in rows, their bodies covered in thick armor plates. Their posture was rigid, proud, and cold. To them, Evan looked like a child who had wandered into a storm. At the center of the room stood her. She was taller than most of the others, her frame powerful and balanced. Her armor was darker, marked with symbols carved deep into the metal. It was not just armor, it was history. Each mark told a story of survival, of blood, and of victory. Her name was Kelthira. She was known across several systems as a living weapon. She had led charges that broke enemy lines. She had held ground when entire units fell. Her armor was said to be bonded to her nervous system, reacting to her thoughts faster than any normal suit could. That armor was damaged. A deep fracture ran along her chest plate, faintly glowing with unstable energy. Small arcs of power jumped across the crack, buzzing softly like an angry insect. Alien engineers had tried to fix it. They failed. Each attempt caused Kelthira visible pain. Her species did not scream easily, but witnesses said her claws dug into the floor when they touched the wrong system. That was why Evan was here. Humans were not strong, but they were careful. The commander spoke in a hard voice. "You will repair her armor." Evan swallowed. "I'll try." Kelthira looked down at him. Her eyes were sharp, unreadable. She did not speak. She only turned slightly, allowing him access to the damaged area. Evan stepped closer, forcing his hands not to shake. He activated his scanner and let it pass slowly over the armor. Data flooded his visor. Energy levels, neural connections, feedback loops that made his breath catch. This armor was not just metal. It was tied directly into her nerves. Every wrong move would feel like cutting into living flesh. He took a slow breath. Alien warriors believed in strength through endurance. Pain was honor. Damage was accepted as long as it allowed victory. But to Evan, what he saw looked wrong. The system was pushing energy beyond safe limits. It was slowly burning her from the inside. He knelt, choosing a micro-tool instead of the heavy alien instruments lying nearby. Those tools were made for force, not precision. As he began, Kelthira finally spoke. "Careful." Her voice was low, soft, almost quiet. The room went still. Several warriors shifted in surprise. She did not speak gently, ever. Evan froze for a fraction of a second, then nodded. "I am." He worked slowly, disconnecting one feedback channel at a time. Sweat formed under his collar as alarms flickered on his visor. The armor resisted him as if it did not want to be changed. Kelthira's breathing changed. Evan noticed it right away, not pain, something else. "Does it hurt?" he asked without looking up. "No," she said after a pause. "It eases." That word sent a strange weight through him. As he continued, he saw more problems. The armor was designed to push her limits constantly, forcing her body to adapt or break. It was praised as perfection by her people. To Evan, it was a slow execution. He adjusted power flow, rerouted stress points, and reinforced damaged nodes instead of simply sealing them. These were small changes, but together they shifted the entire balance of the system. Kelthira watched him now, her head tilted slightly. No one had ever worked on her armor like this. No one had ever taken time. Memories surfaced in her mind, years of pain after every battle. The exhaustion she never spoke of, the silent fear that one day her armor would kill her before any enemy could. Evan's hands paused over a final connection. This one controlled the armor's override mode, the feature that allowed her to fight past injury, past broken bones, past reason. If he left it as it was, the repair would be accepted. If he changed it, command would be angry. He thought of the way she had said careful. He changed it. When he finished, he stepped back, heart pounding. Try moving. Kelthira straightened, slowly at first, then faster. She rolled her shoulders, flexed her claws, and took a step forward. Her eyes widened slightly. The armor responded smoothly, without the usual sharp feedback. Her movements felt natural, not forced, strong but not burning. "What did you do?" one warrior demanded. Evan met Kelthira's gaze instead. "I fixed what was breaking you." Silence filled the armory. Kelthira looked down at him for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice steady but changed. "No one has ever done that." Before anyone could respond, alarms blared through the station. Red lights flashed. An enemy fleet had entered the system. The commander barked orders. Warriors rushed to arm themselves. Kelthira turned toward the exit, then paused. She looked back at Evan. "You will stay behind," the commander said sharply. She did not repeat the order. Instead, she said quietly, "He stays." The commander hesitated, then nodded. There was no time to argue. As Kelthira moved toward battle, Evan watched her go, unsure if he had just saved her life or changed the course of something far bigger. The station shook as the first impacts hit. Evan gripped his tools, heart racing, knowing that what he had done would soon be tested in the only way that mattered. In war, the first air struck the outer hull with a deep, shaking roar. Metal groaned as the station absorbed the impact. Warning lights pulsed red across the corridors, and the calm hum of the outpost turned into chaos. Evan felt the floor vibrate under his boots. He grabbed a nearby railing to steady himself. He was not trained for combat, but he knew the sounds of damage. This was not a small raid. This was a real assault. Kelthira moved through the corridor like a living storm. Her warriors followed close behind her, weapons charged and armor locked. The modified armor responded instantly to her thoughts, flowing with her movement instead of fighting against it. She reached the main defense hall just as the first enemy boarding pods tore through the hull. Explosions echoed, and the air filled with smoke and sparks. "Hold the line," she commanded. Her voice carried strength, but inside she felt something new. No burning pain, no sharp pressure crushing her chest. The armor felt like a second skin, not a cage. Enemy soldiers poured in, tall and heavy, their weapons brutal and loud. They expected resistance to break quickly. They were wrong. Kelthira charged. She moved faster than she ever had before. Her strikes were precise, controlled, and powerful. She did not waste energy forcing her body past its limits. She flowed from one enemy to the next, each motion clean and efficient. Her warriors noticed. They fought harder, steadier, inspired by her strength. In the rear corridors, Evan worked as fast as his hands allowed. He rerouted power, sealed breaches, and patched failing systems. Explosions rocked the station again and again, but he stayed focused. A sudden alarm flared on his display. The armor's core system was under extreme load. Kelthira was pushing hard. Evan opened a direct link. "Your armor is holding," he said calmly, "but don't force it. Trust it." There was a pause, then her voice came through, steady and clear. "I do." That trust sent a strange warmth through him. The battle spread through multiple levels. The enemy adapted, shifting tactics, trying to overwhelm the defenders with numbers. But the humans joined in, not as fighters, but as support. They guided warriors through safe paths, rerouted doors, and shut down enemy access points. Human voices filled the comms, calm and organized. It changed the flow of the fight. Kelthira found herself adjusting to this new rhythm. She listened. She adapted. She survived. At the heart of the station, the enemy launched their final push. A massive armored unit broke through the inner barrier, smashing aside defenders. Its weapon powered up, aimed directly at the station's core. Kelthira stood alone in its path. In the past, she would have activated the override, burning herself for one last strike. The old armor would have allowed it. The new armor did not. Instead, it fed her strength steadily, protecting her body instead of sacrificing it. She moved with perfect timing, dodging the blast by a narrow margin. The impact tore the wall behind her apart. She leaped forward, using the enemy's own momentum against it. Her strike pierced the unit's weak point and the machine collapsed in a storm of sparks. Silence followed. The enemy forces began to retreat. Some fled back to their ships. Others surrendered. The station, damaged but alive, held its ground. Evan slumped against a console, breath shaking. He did not cheer. He only listened to the quiet after the storm. Kelthira walked back through the corridors, armor marked by battle but intact. She stopped in the repair bay where Evan stood. Her warriors waited outside. This moment was hers. "You changed my fate," she said. Evan shook his head. "I just fixed something that was hurting you." She studied him carefully. "My people believe strength comes from suffering." He met her gaze. "Humans believe strength comes from staying alive." For a long moment she said nothing. Then she reached up and removed part of her helmet. Her face was marked with scars, but her eyes were clear. "This armor will no longer kill its wearer," she said quietly, "because of you." Later, command gathered to assess the damage in the battle. The results were undeniable. Casualties were lower. Kelthira's performance had surpassed every previous record. The station still stood. Questions were asked. Changes were reviewed. Evan stood ready to accept punishment. Instead, the commander spoke with restraint. "Your actions broke tradition, but they saved lives." The decision spread quickly. Other warriors requested similar modifications. Engineers began to study human methods with new respect. Kelthira requested Evan as her permanent armor technician. He accepted, still unsure how his quiet choices had shifted an entire culture. As the station drifted once more in the silence of space, Kelthira stood at the viewport, watching distant stars. Evan worked nearby, tools humming softly. "Careful," she said again, not as a warning but as something closer to trust, and this time Evan smiled.